Hi, today we're going to start our poetry unit. So today we're going to do poetry lesson 1, and we're going to talk about similes. But first, let's talk about some characteristics of poems. Poems are usually short. The lines are broken up into stanzas instead of paragraphs. Sometimes they have rhyming or rhythm. And they may use repetition, which is the repeating of words. They also use words in creative and interesting ways. We call this figurative language. And poems may or may not use punctuation. Remember, punctuation are periods, commas, exclamation points, and question marks. So now that we've talked about some of the characteristics, let's take a look at a couple example poems. Here we have Binky Barnes by Mark Brown. I'm going to read the poem, and I want you to see if you can find any rhyming, repetition, rhythm, or any other characteristics that we've talked about. When recess starts, I feel afraid. There's this big kid in 2nd grade. I hear he sat on Tom O'Connor. If he sits on me, then I'm a goner. He looks for kids to squish and crunch. He said he'd find me after lunch. They say he likes to pulverize. Wish he'd pick on kids his size. Of course, there are no kids that big. I'll bet he snaps me like a twig. Oh no, he's coming over here. I think I'm sick, I think I'm sick. He sees me now, he's almost here. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Uh-oh, he's standing next to me. Should I even try to flee? I'd better pray. What did you say? You want to play? Well, gee, okay. I think he wants to be my friend. Too bad recess has to end. So let's talk about some of the things you might notice. This poem definitely has rhythm in it. You can kind of read it in almost a sing-songy way. It also has some rhyme. At the end of each line, we have rhyming words, like afraid and grade, O'Connor and goner, crunch and lunch, pulverize, size, big, twig. We also have some repeating words or phrases. Over here, the phrase I think I'm sick is said twice, so that's repeating. And I'm going to die is said twice, which is also repeating. And then on this side of the poem, we also have some more rhyming words, like me and flee, and then pray, say, play, okay, and then friend and end. This poem also uses punctuation marks at the end of every line. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have the poem Measles by Bruce Lansky. So again, I want you to listen for some of the characteristics. There are measles on my forehead, there are measles on my nose, there are measles on my elbows, there are measles on my toes, there are measles on the carpet, there are measles on the chair, there are measles on my glasses, there are measles in my hair. I'm so tired of painting measles, I would like to take a rest. I sure hope I have enough to be excused from tomorrow's test. So do you notice any characteristics in this poem? Well, there are repetitions of words in this poem because almost every line starts with, there are measles on my. We also have some rhyming words. For example, we have nose, elbows, and toes. We have chair and hair, and rest and test. Again, this poem can be read in a sing-songy way, which means that it has rhythm as well. Every line in this poem starts with a capital, and every line ends with a punctuation mark. So those are some example poems and some characteristics that we talked about. Today, we're going to talk about one particular type of figurative language that is used in poems, and that is a simile. So a simile is figurative language that compares two different things, using the words like or as to show how they are similar. Let's look at some examples. Here's our first example. It says, Dara's warm, bright smile was like the sun. What two things are we comparing? Well, we're comparing the girl's smile to the sun. Both of them are warm. That's how they are similar. But a smile and the sun are two very different things. That's why it's a simile. We're comparing the two things using the word like. Let's look at another example. When Nick came in from the cold, his cheeks were as red as apples. What two things are we comparing? Well, we're comparing his cheeks to apples. They are both very different things. However, they have something in common because they are both red. And this time, we're using the word as to compare these two things. So the cheeks were as red as apples. Let's look at another example. Jane can run like the wind. What two things are we comparing? Well, we're comparing how the girl can run to the wind. Again, both things are very different. But how are they the same? Well, they are both fast. And we're using the word like to compare them. And we'll do one more example. Alec is as quiet as a mouse. So, what are we comparing here? Well, we're comparing Alec to a mouse, which again are two very different things, but what do they have in common? They are both very quiet, and we're using the word as to compare them. Some similes you might have heard before. For example, this last one. This one is one that is commonly used, quiet as a mouse. Same with here, fast like the wind. A lot of people, you might have heard that one before. So these are all examples of similes. Now we're going to practice making some. You need this sheet in front of you. And on this sheet, you're going to use the pictures and the sentences to make some similes of your own. Let's look at the first one. It says, Grandma is as soft as a... And if you look at the picture next to it, it's a picture of a pillow. So, the simile is going to read, Grandma is as soft as a pillow. And I'm going to write pillow on the line. What two things are we comparing? Well, we're comparing Grandma to the pillow. And both Grandma and the pillow are both soft. That's what they have in common. This simile used the word as to compare the two things. We'll do one more together. Number 2. You are sweet like, and if you look over here, we have a bowl of sugar. So, you are sweet like sugar. And here we're comparing the words you to sugar. So both are sweets, and we use the word like in our simile. you are going to finish the rest of the similes on your own. So number 3 says, Lori is as busy as a. Number 4 says, his words burn like blank. Number 5 says, that man is as mean as a blank. And number 6 says, your eyes shine like blank. Use the pictures to help you finish the similes. On the bottom, you're going to write 2 similes about yourself. You are going to choose whether you want to use the words like or as by circling the word and then completing the sentence. So for example, I might say I am and use the word as, so I'm going to circle it, as happy as a lark. And a lark is a type of bird. Or I might say I am as fast as a motorcycle. So you are going to finish the bottom 2 by describing something about yourself. Remember to circle either like or as to finish your simile. When you finish this page, you're ready to move on to the next lesson.